doing the white show. Put the camera down. Put the camera down and ask me a question. There's several hundred people. Well, nice and loud, please. Can I reflect upon my work in the Twilight Zone episode? Reflect on it. Well, it's been a long time, as you can imagine. This hasn't changed abruptly. This has been a gradual 50-year change. You understand? I was in those years. I living in New York City. I'd done some Broadway work, but there was a lot of television in New York. So my wife and I and a child, I think it was one then, lived in New York. And then and I was doing live television, and the people in Los Angeles who were making movies would see the live television, and I would get calls to go to work there. And so I'd fly to Los Angeles and do some work and come back to New York. Well, I remember that in the live television days of New York, I had worked with all those people who did the Twilight Zone. I worked with all of them. I'd become sort of a favorite of the live television people. I probably worked more than anybody during the last part of the live television era because I'd been to the Canadian Repertory Theatre. I had done theater in Montreal since I was 6. I had gone to the Canadian Repertory Theatre and then summer theater in Montreal professionally in the Canadian Repertory Theatre for 3 years. Then 3 years in Stratford, and 3 years here in Toronto doing either theater or television. So when I went down to the United States, I was one of those rare individuals who had years and years of experience of being in front of an audience. Now, it could be terrifying to be in front of several hundred people and not know what you're going to say next. And it's equally terrifying to have, in those days, this large television camera that was warm because they had tubes and had a fan inside the large camera, going like that. So it was warm, and it was, and then it would come close to you. And with a little red light, it looked like a red eye, like I've got. I thought of it like a live animal. Here comes a little camera. It's coming right up to my face. It's taking a close-up so that 30 million people can watch my face. You can freeze up when you think about that. But that experience kind of carries you through. So I was adept at doing this live television, and it carried over to getting some work in Hollywood. And that was one of the calls. And so everybody working in live television began gradually to move to Los Angeles out of New York. Those were the people who did the Twilight Zone. And I had worked with many of those writers, and over the years have continued to work with those writers. Dick Matheson wrote that airplane one, 20,000 feet. He wrote that. Now, it didn't occur to me that Nightmare at 20,000 feet, was that the name? All right, so it didn't occur to me when they said, the role is yours, that this guy in this little furry suit, who was an acrobat, and he'd take it off or so off, and he'd say, "Hi, Bill, what's going on?" And then he'd put the thing back in, that they shoot him looking through the window or on the wing. It didn't occur to me that it looked stupid. That it was the most bizarre special effects in the history of television. There was a little furry guy on the wing of a jet plane. But the actor can't think that how ridiculous that is and how ridiculous it would be for somebody in the airplane to say, "Look at that, oh, look, there's somebody on the wing." You have to suspend disbelief. But it never occurred to me that you, 40 years later, would be asking me about this little furry guy on the wing and how stupid both of us are to be talking about. But I just flow it in. I'm tired. I just flew in on Air Canada, okay, from Chicago. And I kept looking out the window to see if there was and the only little furry thing was the flight attendant. That little frizzy hair gave me an egg. Air Canada. No, actually, it was a great flight. Air Canada was very good. But not as good as Bombardier! Thanks for being here, first of all. It's called the Ottawa Little Theater. Are they in the high school or public school theater? They have their own theater now. And do Canadian actors, are they paid professionally? So they're paid professionals in Ottawa. And paid and voluntary. That's great. Does Toronto have a permanent professional company? You're what? You're from Ottawa. I've asked the wrong brother. Well, that's great. Two things. When I'm racing with Sophie, and Mr. Bones passes me. Yes. See, you spoke in a very quiet voice, and so I'm going to take credit for that line, okay? This gentleman, what's your name? Ryan. Ryan, I just read an article that there was so many people of your age are named Ryan, and the reason for that is the movie Ryan, what's that? Ryan was married to Fireflies. Ryan O'Neill. Ryan O'Neill was in that movie with Barbara Streisand, and that's when you were conceived and named Ryan. Ryan said, when I was racing against Mr. Bones, had Mr. Bones upset my sulky and I'd hit the ground, would I have said, Bones, I've fallen and I can't get up? Thank you, Ryan. That was my closing line. Thank you so much, everybody. You've been